Hello, I'm the Corruptist, and welcome back to another tier list video. Before I start though, I would like to note that the Soul Silver Challenge run that I'm currently working on, it's still going to be made. Just a couple of weeks ago I had finals, and they were pretty tough. They pretty much took all of my time, but don't worry, the Soul Silver run is still going to be made. In fact, I was just working on it right now. In fact, I'm just in the middle of editing it, and when I decided to take a break and quickly make this tier list video instead. But with all that out of the way, let's start with this tier list of the various traits of Fallout New Vegas. First up, we have Built to Destroy, and this I put into B tier. Built to Destroy is pretty much the definition of very good in this game. Built to Destroy has a pretty nice upside with the extra 3% crit chance. You know, it's always good for your luck builds, but I don't think that's necessarily required for any of the crit builds. I don't really do too much research into them, but still, if you want extra crit chance is still good. And the downside is pretty manageable, you know, just 33% degradation every time you use your weapons. With some weapons that doesn't even apply at all, such as with thrown weapons where you bare fists. But yeah. Next up we have Claustrophobia. I'll be honest, I have never used this trait before. I don't really know where to put it, so I'll just put it into C tier. Maybe this one is better than... Maybe this is a secretly goated perk, but I've literally never used it. What it does is that it gives you +1 to all your special stats whenever you're outside, and -1 whenever you're inside. And I'll be honest, it just kind of feels a bit janky to use. To constantly have extra or lower skills. Just have constantly extra or lower skills on all of them. That just kind of sounds a bit inconvenient, and I'd rather not deal with that. So, C tier. Next up is Early Bird, D tier. Now, I haven't used this one either, but this one just seems more complicated. Instead of just +1s and -1, you get a +2 to all your special stats during like 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. I think, and then from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. you get -2 to all of your special stats. And the thing when I play New Vegas is that I don't really care much about the time, unless there's like, you know, unless I'm doing a Legion run and I don't want to wake up Caesar. That's literally all I'm gonna do. That's literally all that I really care for the time. I don't really want this extra... This perk just sounds like that it just be extra homework while I'm playing the game, and I don't really like that. Next up, we have Kamikaze. I'll put this in B tier too. What this does is that it gives you an extra few action points, but at the cost of some of your DT. And for VATS builds, I think... I have never done a VATS build before, but I think this would be pretty good for it, maybe. The extra damage resistance, I'm not too sure how good these are. You know, it's just a classic decent upside and manageable downside. Next up, Fast Shot. Fast Shot I also put into B tier. What it does is that it gives you a 20% increase to your fire rate, as well as a 20% cost reduction for your action points, while also reducing your accuracy by 20%. And just in general for New Vegas, you want more fire rate, because the weapons in New Vegas are pretty accurate. So losing out on just 20% of how accurate they are, it's not that big of a deal. However, this upside isn't really as strong as some of the other ones that we'll get to. Next up, we have Four Eyes. Now, as someone who wears glasses IRL, I appreciate Obsidian's inclusion of us. Unfortunately, This perk sucks. It permanently removes one of your special points. Don't take it. That's bad. Why would you do this to yourself? You miss out on perks and stuff. The only benefit that you get is a +2 when we are wearing glasses, but like a +2 perception, but perception doesn't really do much. Like, it doesn't affect VATS, it doesn't affect all the perks, all the skills that it affects. You can just put skill points into them anyway, so why? Why? Next up is Good Natured. Good Natured, I put into B tier. Good Natured is, what it does is that it takes out 5 from all of your attacking stats and then puts 5 into 5 other stats. I forget what they are, but I'm pretty sure they include things like speech, medicine, barter, and it's a pretty nice one. You're only really going to be using 1 or 2 weapons for pretty much any playthrough of New Vegas. So just having this, it's not too bad of a trade-off. Especially, it's even better if you're trying to min-max for certain skills. Like, I actually figured out that by using this and another trait that I'll get to, you can actually get the In-Shining Armor perk at level 2. But, yeah, I have a full video dedicated to that one. I'll put a link in the description. Next up, Heavy-Handed. Heavy-Handed, I put in C tier. What this perk does is that it gives you 60% to your melee DPS and unarmed DPS, but it also removes it gives you +20 to your melee and unarmed damage, but it removes 60% from the critical hits of those damage. Now with some weapons, this is pretty good, such as the Ripper, or the Thermic Lance, or the Rebar Club, but with others, it's not really so good. You generally do crits are generally very valuable, and even just putting investment into them, even if it's just like a sort of side deal, like this is not the main deal, it's just a side perk of that for your build, that's always worth it in my opinion. And so taking a perk that that pulls you away from that, it's kind of a bad move, but this does have a niche. Next up is Pack Rat. A tier. What this perk does is that it gives you -1 if you have less than 160 pounds total in your inventory, but it gives you +25 inventory. Just having more space for all of your loot, all of your weapons and stuff, that's a really good trait to have. And especially for like me, I'm a fucking weapons hoarder. When I play this game casually, I just grab a whole bunch of unique weapons that I just carry them on me at all times, and then just cycle through them as I blast through my enemies. And just having the extra carry weight, I really appreciate this. And so, A tier. There are certainly some better ones, but this is one of my go-tos. This next one is Hot Blooded. And I have never taken this perk before, but I think it might be A tier. It just kind of seems better than these 3. What this one does is that it gives you +10% to your damage whenever your health is below 50%, but it also gives you so that when your health is below 50%, -2 to your agility and perception stats. Now, this happens while you're in combat. The only thing that this would affect is your reload rate, I think. And while that does suck with certain weapons, that doesn't matter. It's a bit like Nerd Rage. Like, I think if you combine this with Nerd Rage, each on a melee build, you could probably make something real nice with it. But yeah. Next up is Logan's Loophole. And this might be my hottest take of this game, but I'm gonna put it into C tier. Something about Logan's Loophole, it just doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't click in my head. Because while I do see the benefits of never running out of never being addicted to drugs, you don't that's not really that big of an issue. At what point in the game, besides really early on, do you not have 50 caps? Like, bro, just go to a doctor, spend 50 caps, and get your addiction cured. Or use a fixer. Or use whatever the other things were that cures addiction, you know? And the fact that it limits you to level 30, although most runs, they might not end up going that high, just the fact that there is an earlier level cap, it just kind of just doesn't sit right with me. So yeah, C tier. Next one is Loose Cannon, and this is D tier. Now, the problem with this perk is that it's a lot more niche. Like, some of these have been pretty niche, right? You know, Built to Destroy, you know, that's good for a crit build. Fast Shot, that's useless if you're running a melee or an unarmed build. This one is so niche that it only works with 2 subtypes of weapons. It only works with thrown melee and explosive weapons. And the thing about explosive weapons is that typically you want those to be far away from you. So the fact that it reduces your throwing range, although that can be alleviated with like the Heave Ho perk, it still is bringing those grenades closer to you than they would have been otherwise. So that's one category of weapons that it's supposed to be good with. And then thrown melee weapons. Thrown melee weapons are kind of useless. None of them are the problem with thrown melee weapons is that none of them are in abundance. The most throwing knives that you'll ever get at once is 15. Throwing hatchets only ever gets sold as 1. Throwing spears, you have to grind legionaries to get them. The only other exception would be if you include the tomahawks from the Honest Hearts DLC, but I haven't really done a dedicated run with tomahawks, so I wouldn't really know. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's good for like a tomahawk build. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll make Fallout New Vegas with only tomahawks. That'd be fun. But but this perk, the only other thing that this perk does is it gives a 30% VATS cost with throwing weapons, which is nice, but it's just too niche to be that useful. And so, and with the niches that it works in, they aren't that good. So D tier. It's not completely useless, I will admit, but not entirely useful. Next up, Wild Wasteland, Instant S. What this does is that it adds a whole bunch of wild encounters to your game, such as a Indiana Jones reference, the Monty Python reference with the Holy Hand Grenade. It also adds the Alien Blaster, though that does remove a Gauss Rifle, a unique Gauss Rifle. If you want that unique Gauss Rifle, then I'm afraid you're going to have to skip out on this trait, but if you don't, and you want the Alien Blaster, which is arguably a lot better, go ahead and take this. It's pretty fun. I love, especially if you're new. This perk, this trait does nothing. It adds nothing to your build other than a weapon, other than a couple of weapons. But very fun. It's very fun when they do get applied. Next up, Skilled, back-to-back S tiers. What Skills does is that it adds +5 to all of your stats, with the cost of minus 10% experience gain for everything. And this can be mitigated with the with a perk. I forget what it's called, but it gives you a +15 boost to your experience points. But here's the thing. That doesn't really matter too much. The minus 10% EXP gain is not significant enough to really slow down your level progression at all. Sure, it might be a bit annoying when you see those weird numbers, but hey, there could be worse things. You could be fucking Four Eyes here, remove an entire stat, you know. In fact, but here's another thing. This trait is broken. This trait is so broken that you can take it 3 times. You can take it once when you start the game. You can take it again when you leave Goodsprings and just rebuild your character. And then you can retake it a 3rd time when you go through Old World Blues and you get the access to the auto dock, which can swap out your traits. And from there, you can apply a skill to yourself for a 3rd time, giving you a plus 15 to all of your stats. And even if you don't do Old World Blues, you still have plus 10 to all of your stats. That's low-key kind of broken. Next up, Small Frame. A tier. Small Frame, what this does is that it makes your limbs more easily crippled. However, this can be easily fixed with stim packs and doctor's bags, or just sleeping, or paying 50 cents to a doctor. And what it does is that it gives you an extra agility point. Adding more special stats to you is always a good thing, and the fact that it's a permanent one just makes it all the more better. And with that extra agility stat, that gives you a lot more flexibility with your builds. Like, hey, maybe you were planning on doing some sort of energy weapons build, but you don't really like, but you need that one extra point in strength in order to carry with the energy weapon that you needed. Well, add this in, and then you have a plus 1 to your agility, and then you can remove that agility point back, and then add it to whatever you needed. It's just nice. You know, it's very nice. It makes your builds all the more flexible when planning them out. And lastly, kind of ending with a, not really with a bang here, is Trigger Discipline. And I'll put it in C tier. This is the opposite of Fast Shot, where it gives you a plus 25% accuracy at the cost of 20% fire rate, as well as a 20% extra cost in VATS. And yeah, it's the thing about New Vegas is that in general you don't really care too much about accuracy because weapons that are accurate enough themselves. If this trait was in Fallout 3, then maybe you'd have something, but because all the weapons there, they shoot like a musket back in the 1600s, and but in New Vegas, its accuracy is not the biggest deal. It's not the biggest thing that you need to invest in. All the inaccurate weapons, they have a good enough fire rate or other things that make them good enough that they don't need this, and all the accurate weapons are already accurate, so reducing their fire rate kind of is counterproductive. And plus the extra 20% AP cost really holds this back. But yeah, that's my tier list of the traits of Fallout New Vegas. Do you disagree? Do you agree? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Because this channel is small, I will be sure to read every single one of them. Other than that, regardless, thanks for watching my video. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, share with your friends. It'd really help out a small-time YouTuber like me. But until next time, I'm the Corruptest. Bye.